It's summertime, but summer ends fast, and right around the corner is the fall. And what does that mean? It's back to school, and back to school means back to school shopping. And if your products are something that people might buy for back to school, whether it be school supplies, office supplies, clothing, backpacks, or things that people might add to their dorm room, or if they're moving around because maybe they're going to a different school for those college kids and things of that nature, then you're definitely going to want to watch this video. We're going to talk about ways that you can get in front of back to school and make it the best possible busy season for you. So my name is Kevin Sanderson from My Amazon Guy, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Basically, this is a guide we've put together with Stephen Pope, our founder's 300 best tips, which you can download it, which we'll have a link to down below. But I'm specifically going to be focusing on our best practices for search engine optimization traffic for back to school sales on Amazon. So basically, this is kind of, you could call it your checklist of things that you could do for back to school. So, if you have a product that lends itself to back to school, so I found this one here. I just looked up back to school backpack and it showed up. So there's a few things that if I was the seller of this particular product, I would probably focus on some of these things because back to school is going to be a key thing, especially with the designs they have. There's some pretty cool designs here, but a lot of them really are definitely more focused on elementary and middle school age kids. So younger kids, not necessarily high school and college, which I guess somebody might buy that, but maybe based on the size and everything else, it says 6 through 18, but I'm going to guess with a design that looks, kind of like that, it's going to be more younger kids, maybe some high school kids. I would say it's probably going to be more younger kids. So to prepare that listing or a listing like that, the first thing you want to do is take a look at some of your keywords. So look at your favorite keyword tool, whether it be Jungle Scout, Helium 10, etc. Then you want to look at, what are some of those long tail keywords that might include school supplies or backpacks or kids lunchbox or whatever the case is. So look at your competitors and just see what do they have. And then another thing you can do that we don't have on here is you could download your search query performance report from last year in Q3 and just see if you had any back to school related keywords that were showing up for your brand, and make sure that you're targeting those in your PPC campaigns and that you're including them in some places which will help you with SEO. So we'll talk about that. So make sure your product title includes maybe back to school in it. So there are some holidays that are on Amazon's no-fly list. Like, you don't want to make it seem like it's all about that holiday, whereas back to school is acceptable. That might change, but for now you can use back to school terms in your product title or potentially in your backend search terms, as well as your bullet points and descriptions. And then you could also make sure in your images that you have images that show some lifestyle that works with back to school. So for example, this one here, they've got the kid turned around. Now, I would say it wouldn't hurt to have, maybe an image of, a classroom and things of that nature. Now, they do have that down here, the kid, pondering out into space with his clearly photoshopped, but still works for a lifestyle image, backpack on the table. But maybe you want to include like the keyword back to school backpack. So this helps remind people. And then another imagery that people oftentimes have of back to school is like the kid getting on the bus. And so if you're able to have an image of like a kid getting on a school bus wearing the backpack, that helps remind people, because oftentimes people associate like that yellow school bus that we have in the United States with back to school. So that's something you might want to do. And then also, so it's the high quality images and the A+ content. And then what does your pricing look like? And so take a look at your pricing. Are your competitors running specials? So you might want to look at back to school backpack. Now we're kind of early in the back to school season. So when I'm recording this, it's July. Back to school is kind of August through early September, because you got to think, where I live in Florida, it's early to mid August that the kids, like not even halfway through the month of August, kids are going to school. So people start their shopping a couple weeks before that. And then up in the Northeast and other parts of the country, people are going back to school until after Labor Day, which is generally the first Monday in September. So depending on the year and when Labor Day falls, that might be, all the way into like the 6th or 7th of September before school even starts. So you have a long period of shopping. So people might not yet, as I'm recording this, have some of their specials, but just take a look and see like your competitors. Pay special close attention, especially if you're selling things like lunchboxes and backpacks that clearly have a very back to school season, and just look and see like, are they starting to lower their prices? So pay close attention, look at those, keywords, especially, back to school backpack, and just see like elementary school backpack, what are those other keywords that might be back to school related? What are the competitors listing theirs for? And so people that are in a similar price point to yours, like this $8.99 backpack versus a $125 backpack, they're not necessarily competitors of each other. But for those that are maybe more similar in price, like if you're selling a $29.99 backpack and someone else is selling a $24 backpack, if suddenly they lower their price down, maybe you want to look at potentially lowering yours or not. And so it depends on if you have the inventory to support it. But this is kind of your prime season. So whether you want to run other specials that you might want to run or brand tailored promotions for people that have visited your page or added to cart, target them with a discount or maybe run a coupon. As you can see, there's not a lot of coupons on here, like, save 5%, save $2. So maybe you want to run a more aggressive coupon or a more aggressive discount. So those are things you can think about. And then on here, as well as, take a look at your reviews, and see if there's, anything that's showing up that might help you figure out, what did people say for some of your reviews that might have come last year with back to school, and use some of those customer phrases that they used. Now, if you do download this particular guide, which again, we'll have a link to in the description down below, our playbook of 300 of our best tips. When you're looking at things like your alt text, which I mentioned earlier. Oh, no, I did not mention alt text. Excuse me. I mentioned the backend search terms, but alt text is another good example. So one place you can put your alt text, so to go back to this, in your A+ content. Let's see if they're doing this here. So I've this alt text viewer. Looks like they did put in some Spanish. We recently put out a video about putting alt text in Spanish. So kudos to them. Backpack for boys. They're also putting in Spanish, kids backpack. But one opportunity they're missing is that technically alt text is supposed to be somewhat descriptive, but it could also be a place to include lots of other keywords. And so they've got maybe 10, 15 characters, whereas we have found you can have up to 100 characters of alt text or characters in that alt text field. And that gives you the opportunity to include lots of different customer keywords and search terms. Because if you think about this, so they've got, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got 7 different A+ content images. So that's actually not 100 characters. That's 100 characters each. So 100 times 7. So it's up to 700 characters of potential search terms that they can include, including, they did a good job here with Spanish, but they can include back to school backpack, whatever back to school is in Spanish, they can include that. They can include all kinds of different things. Elementary school backpack, it doesn't even necessarily have to just be Spanish or back to school keywords. It could be all kinds of different keywords. It could be evergreen. So that's one of those things you can think about. Little tips like this you can get from our guide, which can help you show up more in your SEO, as well as helping you with a variety of other topics. So it's not just all about just SEO, but you can see in our table of contents, we can help you with SEO, PPC, click-through rate, A+ content, launching on Amazon, brand registry, trademark. I'm just, my throat's getting tired just talking about all the different ones there. So you can download that. That is for free. Hopefully this video has helped you if you do have back to school related products to help you make the most of that back to school season. My name is Kevin Sanderson from My Amazon Guy. It's been a pleasure helping you, and happy selling.